On Wednesday, February 5th, 2025, 39-year-old Monday Fanga made a post on her Facebook page. She was sharing her joy about day 4 of a church program she had been attending at Full Life Christian Center in Uyo, Akwa Ibom State, Nigeria. The post radiated happiness and spiritual fulfillment. Was an active member of the church, known for her talents as a makeup artist and singer. She was deeply involved in church activities and also took her faith seriously. There was supposed to be another program the next day, being Thursday, February 6th, and based on her previous attendance and her enthusiastic Facebook post, everyone expected to be there. She had not missed a single day of the program. She had been attending faithfully, posting about it, and also encouraging others to attend. There was absolutely no reason to think that Thursday would be any different, but Thursday came, and did not show up for the church program. Her friends at Full Life Christian Center noticed her absence immediately. This was not like She was committed, reliable, and always present. So, where could she be? They tried to reach out to her by phone, calling her number multiple times, but her phone was switched off. The church members began to worry, but they decided to wait and see if she would show up for the program on Friday or if they could reach her by then. On Friday, February 7, 2025, her church friends decided to take action. They went to her residence at Akar Road in Uyo. When they arrived, they were led to her door by the neighbors. They knocked, but there was no answer. They called out her name, but got only silence as a response. Growing increasingly worried, they managed to get inside the apartment, and what they found inside would haunt them forever. Monday Fanga was lying dead in her apartment. Her body showed clear signs of violence. There were visible marks on her face and neck, which indicated that she had been beaten and possibly strangled to death. They noticed that her phone, her ATM card, and the key to her shop were missing. At first glance, it might have seemed like a robbery gone wrong. Perhaps someone had broken in to steal from her and she had resisted, ultimately leading to her death. That would be the obvious conclusion for anyone who did not know the full story. But the neighbors knew better. They had witnessed things that opened another darker possibility. The neighbors were well aware that had been in a relationship with a man named Ndifreke Isaiah Nelson. The two had met at Full Life Christian Center, where they both worshipped. Ndifreke was an usher in the church, one of those people you see at the front, welcoming congregants with a smile, handing out programs, and also helping people find seats. Was also a very active member of the church. She was talented, involved, and well-liked. Over time, Ndifreke and got to know each other. Their acquaintance grew into friendship, and friendship blossomed into romance. From the outside, they probably seemed like the perfect church couple, two devoted believers who had found love in the house of God. But appearances can be deceiving. Soon discovered that Ndifreke Isaiah Nelson was not who she thought he was. He was not the religious, God-fearing man who occupied the front seat of the church and seemed fully in tune with his relationship with God. Behind closed doors, away from the church lights and the Sunday services, Ndifreke was a completely different person. He was violent, he was abusive, and he had a dark side that he carefully hid from the congregation. The neighbors had witnessed Ndifreke beat up on 2 different occasions before she was eventually found dead in her apartment. There was also another reported source of conflict between and Ndifreke. Had entered into some form of business agreement with him. Ndifreke was a barber, and had offered to help him by giving him space in her shop to run his hair-cutting business. It seemed like a generous gesture or a way to support her boyfriend's livelihood. But Ndifreke failed to keep his end of the bargain, whatever they had agreed upon. Whether it was rent payments, sharing of utilities, or other terms, Ndifreke did not comply. After giving him chances and waiting for him to fulfill his obligations, finally had enough. She told him he had to leave the shop. She evicted him from the space. After witnessing his violence, experiencing his abuse, and dealing with his failure to honor their business agreement, made a crucial decision. She told Ndifreke that she was no longer interested in the relationship. She made it clear that she wanted to be left alone and that she was done with him. But Ndifreke was not willing to accept this decision. Instead of respecting her wishes and moving on, he began threatening her. He put pressure on him to stay in the relationship. He would not let her go. He kept coming to her apartment, showing up at her shop, and also trying to force his way back into her life. Had kept this threat to herself. She did not tell her family, including her brother Fioki, who is a well-known guitarist, about the full extent of what she was experiencing. She probably thought she could handle the situation on her own, but the neighbors could see what was happening. They would step in when Ndifreke came around, confronting him and asking him to leave alone. They tried to protect her, tried to create a barrier between Emem and this dangerous man who refused to accept that their relationship was over. The discovery was reported to the police and officers were dispatched to the scene. The crime scene was processed, her body was evacuated and taken to the hospital where she was clinically confirmed dead by the doctor on duty. Emem's corpse was deposited in a mortuary, pending further investigation. The Akwa Ibom State Police Command moved quickly. Detectives began tracing her last known contacts and movements. The investigation led them directly to Ndifreke Isaiah Nelson. Witnesses reported that he was the last person seen with her on that very Thursday. Ndifreke had gone to church on the evening of the next day, being Friday. There was a vigil program, an all-night prayer session at Full Life Christian Center. The program started late in the evening and would continue into the early hours of Saturday morning. Ndifreke had dressed up and attended, sitting among other worshippers, singing, praying, and acting as though he was just another faithful believer seeking God's presence. He had no idea that by this time, Emem's body had been discovered. He did not know that the police had been called to her apartment, that they had processed the crime scene, and that they had also documented the evidence of violence on her body. He certainly did not know that police investigators had already begun their swift investigation into her tragic murder. The police tracked Ndifreke's whereabouts to Full Life Christian Center, where the vigil program was taking place. It was now around 2 a.m. on Saturday morning, February 8, 2025. The church was full of worshippers engaged in prayer and praise. Police officers positioned themselves strategically at the entrances and exits of the church building. Some officers remained outside, ready to intercept anyone who tried to flee. Other officers went inside the church to locate Ndifreke. When Ndifreke saw two men in plain clothes walking into the church, he immediately became suspicious. Ndifreke stood up from where he was sitting. He held up a phone and pretended to answer a call. He started walking hastily toward the exit of the church, trying to appear casual while actually fleeing as fast as he could without even running. But his behavior had already drawn attention. The other worshippers in the church noticed that something strange was happening. As Ndifreke reached the exit and burst outside, he broke into a full run. The police officers who had positioned themselves outside the church building were waiting for exactly this scenario. They pursued Ndifreke and quickly apprehended him. He was arrested and taken into custody. When the police searched Ndifreke, they made a crucial discovery. The phone he had been holding in the church, the phone he had used to fake a phone call while trying to escape, was an Itel superphone. It did not belong to Ndifreke. It belonged to a Monday Fanga. It was her phone, the one missing from the crime scene. And just as the neighbors would later report, Ndifreke had removed her SIM card and replaced it with his own, allowing him to use her phone while making it appear to be his own. During interrogation at the police station, Ndifreke Isaiah confessed to the tragic murder of Monday Fanga. It turned out that Thursday, February 6, 2025, was Ndifreke Isaiah's birthday. He was turning 32 years old, but instead of waiting to celebrate with family or friends, he had left home early that morning around 7 a.m. to visit Fanga at her apartment uninvited. The neighbors who usually confronted him and told him to leave were said to have already left the compound for their daily business. When Emem opened her door and saw Ndifreke standing there, she asked him why he had come to her apartment without informing her. According to Ndifreke, he claimed he told Emem that he wanted to use her phone to take pictures for his birthday celebration. He wanted to post photos on social media to mark his special day, but Emem refused. She did not want to give him her phone. She did not want him in her apartment. She simply wanted him to leave. The refusal angered him, and they got into an argument. The verbal conflict escalated into something physical. They struggled over the phone, and then Ndifreke's violence, the same violence that Emem's neighbors had witnessed before, exploded with deadly force. Ndifreke overpowered her. He strangled and slammed her head against the wall and also struck her head on the floor, blowing her severally with his fist. He beat her brutally and also acknowledged that he had left her unconscious, though he knew or should have known that she was either dying or already dead. The confession lined up with the physical evidence from the crime scene. The visible marks of violence on her face and neck were consistent with strangulation and beating. The missing phone had been found in Ndifreke's possession. The timeline matched witness accounts of when he had visited her apartment. The case moved through the legal system with remarkable speed, possibly becoming one of the fastest murder trials in recent years in Nigeria. Ndifreke Isaiah Nelson, now 33 years old, was brought before the judge at Akwa Ibom State High Court. He faced a 2-count charge of murder and theft. After reviewing all the evidence, hearing the testimony, and considering the confession, The judge found Ndifreke Isaiah guilty on both counts. The judge held that the punishment for stealing was subsumed under the sentence for murder. For the crime of murder, the judge sentenced Ndifreke Isaiah to death by hanging or by lethal injection. Ememefanga was laid to rest on March 22, 2025. May her soul rest in peace. What do you think about this case? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to this channel for more true crime stories.